It is officially year 2 here at the Old Colony History Museum Garden. We're excited to show you in this video all of the new things for this season. So let's take a peek and see what's new for 2022. Our first addition this year was our tulip display in the spring. Last fall, we planted 5 different types of tulips, wintered them over with our corn stalks from last year's garden, and this spring they popped up in an array of colors and heights that were beautiful and offered great early spring color, the first things to grow in our garden this season. Our next change for this season was in the onion bed. We did grow onions last year from seed, which we started in February and grew for one season and harvested in the fall. Then we planted onion sets. So we reworked the soil, added some new compost and fertilizer, and planted sets instead of seeds, which stayed in the ground over the winter and popped up this spring. This is a different approach to planting onions, and we wanted to compare it to last year's version, which, while it did produce onions, didn't grow the largest onions, so we'll see how this year goes. One thing that was nice about having the sets planted in the fall was, again, additional color this spring, as we already had plants growing earlier than we did last year. Our native wildflower gardens were something that we've been looking forward to all winter long. Last year, we had a number of annuals bloom, which were beautiful and offered great color. But we were waiting for some of the perennials to bloom in now their second year. So the lupines were wonderful all spring. All of them were this bright purple color and added some great appeal to these beds. We also had some primrose come back, and the yellow lance-leafed coreopsis has been in bloom for weeks at this point. A number of the rudbeckia, so black-eyed Susan and brown-eyed Susan, are also budding up. And so that while we lost some of the annuals that wouldn't have come back, a number of the perennials continue to make the native wildflower beds stunning and hopefully provide some good color throughout the entire season. Our Three Sisters garden was one project we knew we wanted to try again in 2022. Last year, we had pretty good success until the end of the season when things sort of went awry. So we're trying again, and the first step is planting flint corn. Our first batch of flint corn this year seems to have been dug up by the local squirrels. So we started again, and they're now 3 to 4 inches tall. This means we can plant our Scarlet Emperor runner beans, which will grow up the corn stalks using them for support. And the third sister in this garden is a squash. Last year we tried small sugar pumpkins. This year we're going to try butternut squash. So the Three Sisters garden is one of our favorite beds each season. Last year went pretty well. We didn't kind of get the big wrap up we were looking for, but this year we're optimistic and we're off to a good start with our flint corn. Tomatoes are returning for our second season, but we're expanding the varieties that we're growing. Last year, the only difference was we did 2 large-sized tomatoes and 2 plants of cherry tomatoes, but this year we are doing 4 different types of tomatoes: a Martha Washington, a Genovese Costaludo, Purple Rain, and a yellow tomato called Goldie. We had a pretty good harvest of tomatoes last year, and so we're excited to add some new varieties this season. Lots of the culinary and medicinal herbs that we started last year return for this season. So a number of the same plants are in the same spot and still growing, many of them blooming earlier this year because it's their second season. One annual herb is basil, and last year we had a more traditional variety than you'll see this year, because this year we are trying amaretto basil. It has a distinct purple leaf, but a delicious basil flavor, and so far so good. So we're excited to try a different variety than what you might expect to see in your culinary herb bed. Last year, one of our favorite plants to grow was the potatoes, and we tried hilling them up and had a modest return of potatoes by the end of the season. We stored the potatoes that we grew throughout the winter, and we kept them in our basement, which is fairly dry and dark. And we took those seed potatoes and planted them out this season to continue on our potato growing tradition. This year, we're not going to hill them up, so we're just gonna let the plants grow. And we did 9 plants, all of which came up this spring. So we're really optimistic and hoping that these seed potatoes continue to produce for us throughout the rest of this year's growing season. And finally, our last new addition for 2022 is a brand new bed for planting in. This has become sort of a catch-all with an extra tomato plant in it, a few extra hot peppers that were started from seed. We also have some zinnia and sunflower seeds that we collected from last year's crop, saved over the winter, and planted back out. So this bed is rounding out the garden, kind of a nice cap to it, and we'll grow a whole variety of things this year. And we'll look forward to seeing if any of those mammoth sunflowers return this season, but who knows until they grow. So now you're all caught up on the exciting plans we have for this season. If you've missed any of our previous videos, we will link them down below and you can check out everything we grew last year. And for this year, make sure you like this video and subscribe to our channel so you get all the updates and you can follow along for the OCHM Garden 2022. See you in the next one.